Welcome to the Conquer Your Mountains Week 22 podcast titled Creating Multi-Generational Impacts.
If you're following the Conquer Your Mountains reading plan, you are in week 22 that has the name Ecclesiastes. You see all that I do.
My name is Manda Witt, and I am a senior editor at the Luca Faith and Inspiration imprint of Penguin Random House, South Africa.
And I am Manda Moyo, the author of an inspirational book called Conquer Your Mountains, as well as a science fiction book called The Fallen Angel.
Mandla, in a world focused on immediate success, how do you maintain a vision for creating impacts that last beyond your lifetime?
That vision is about aligning what I do daily with my core values and also the long-term legacy that I want to leave. You can be short-sighted in business. I mean, some things are really for the here and now. What makes you money this week? How do you make your budget this month?
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's also about always keeping the eye on the long-term goal. What business is it that we want to create? How do we want future customers to experience our services? How is the world changing? And are we changing fast enough? How will the world look like in 2030 with the emergence of artificial intelligence, self-driving cars, and all these newfangled things that are coming up? And is the business that we're building today relevant to the world that will exist tomorrow?
You capture this very well on page 74 of Conquer Your Mountains. Will you please read us that extract?
Yes, it says, in the corporate race, we all long to be seen for achieving our budget targets, for working long hours, for being successful entrepreneurs, and lots of other goals that give us meaning. However, it is important to be seen for the right things. Does anyone remember all those employees who toiled in the first manufacturing companies over 100 years ago? Or even the likes of Rockefeller? They are now distant memories. What is indeed seen, though, is when people create multi-generational impacts.
This is so important. I really enjoyed this specific piece because it talks about how important it is to not only just focus on the bigger things like that we see or what we think are the bigger things in life or at work, but also our personal meaning and how we find meaning in those kind of things, because work can stop, people retire, you change companies. But the important thing is what gives you that personal meaning, and you must find that on a much deeper level. So that really spoke to me that bit. Can you share an example of a multi-generational impact that has inspired your approach to business and leadership?
Yeah, so I've been fairly blessed in that in many of the organizations that I've worked with, well, I haven't worked with loads, maybe less than a handful. But in all of those, they've always been epitomized by a visionary founder, someone that actually got up one day and said, I'm going to start up this particular business. I'm going to take the time to drop a vision in terms of what this company will do. And I'm going to use my resources, time and money to get it up and running. Or if I don't have enough time and resources, I'm going to go and speak to funders and share my vision, give them some drawings, show them what I want to build, and get them to invest in that long-term plan. And often when I've then come into that sort of business, like the second or third generation CEO or chief financial officer, and I'm always mindful that at some stage, someone got up one day and set up this organization, and they had their eyes on the long-term goal. And obviously, my role is to keep that organization running. But it came down to someone who actually said, hang on, there's something long-term and multi-generational that we can create.
So you just talked about visionary leaders who created something long lasting. What measures do you take to ensure your work today will be remembered and valued by future generations?
So it's difficult to be sure that what you do will last. So take, for example, the book we've worked on, Conquer Your Mountains.
Hmm.
We've got no idea if people will still be reading it in 10, 20, 30, 40 years' time. And it may well happen that it is, and then it will be a multi-generational impact. And even if it's not thousands of people that are reading it, it could turn out that there's a handful of lives that in the year 2050 pick up this book and their lives are transformed. So with a multi-generational impact, you can't guarantee that what you do today will have a long-lasting impression. But what you can do is to make sure that you always give it your best, that you're always building things that you think and hope will last. And over the course of time, there'll be something that you do that will endure. Some things are guaranteed, or almost guaranteed. So if you plant a tree, a pine tree or eucalyptus or whatever tree you like, provided you look after it, there's a strong chance that that tree will be providing shade to people who will be your grandchildren one day. But obviously, it's not guaranteed. That tree might be swept over in a storm. But if you plant enough trees to make up a forest, then there's a strong chance that out of the 100 trees you plant, half will still be there. So it's really about doing everything with that long-term view. And some of what you do will indeed last.
Dr. Mandla, you are very busy businessman in the corporate world. You are a family man and you are an author. How do you balance the demands of the corporate rat race with the desire to create lasting legacy?
I think the biggest balance is focusing on the why, because you could see them as mutually exclusive. In other words, what does the corporate need today versus what is the long-lasting legacy? But if you set out to do something for the right reason, healthcare industry, you could have a short-term objective. So maybe this month objective is to sell X thousand number of health services. But in meeting that short-term objective, there's some long-term things that you're ticking off. So it could be the person that came to your organization and they couldn't walk any longer because of a musculoskeletal issue, and you give them the right treatment and they're able to start walking again or start running. That's something that you're doing in the here and now, but you've actually done something to someone or for someone that will help them for many years to come. So I think the demands of the corporate rat race are not mutually exclusive from creating a lasting legacy if what you're doing is for the right reason. It's really about being so aligned to your mission and your vision with everything that you do.
So in the expert that you read to us, you said it was important to be seen for the right things. In your opinion, what are the right things to be seen for in our professional endeavors?
So the right things, that the actions that you do that you know will uplift others. You and I have worked together on the Fallen Angel project, which is a science fiction book. In planning for that book, we put so much thought into how the reader would receive it and how we think it might transform their lives. And I think our minds were aligned in terms of, if this book gets to a person like this, we think that this is what they'll receive from it and this is how they'll benefit. And maybe it might really change their outlook on life for the better. So it's about being razor focused in terms of what is it that we're doing and how might it help others. There's no guarantee, obviously, but I think just having that focus on, is this the right thing that we're doing? Does it feel right? Does it sound right compared to our broader life goals? If we do that, I believe we have the ingredients to help other people achieve their potential.
That's definitely so true. I think we've definitely focused on the long lasting after effects and not the immediate temporary fleeting things, especially within that book, and the lasting message that we wanted to give, because once you've printed something in a book, it's there forever. And like you say, 10, 20, 30, 40 years from now, people might read it and get something from that text that you wrote that you never thought they would. And that's great. I think that's definitely one way of contributing something lasting and a lasting legacy to the world, is by coming up with an idea and solidifying it for the next generations to be able to receive it and enjoy it. So, reflecting on historical figures like Rockefeller, what lessons can we learn about building enduring value versus fleeting success?
Yeah, so if we let's think of all the millionaires that existed in the 20th century, and we can even extend it to other billionaires as well. If you count them, there's probably thousands or tens of thousands, but there's very few of them that we actually know of now, even though they were hugely prominent and they had large businesses. So I think these historical figures teach us that, yeah, if you have wealth and power, you can certainly make a mark on history. But if there's things that you do that will actually propel society and help society with making progress, it's for those things that you may be truly remembered and celebrated. So, yeah, as I speak to you, I have in my hand an iPhone, and you immediately think of someone like Steve Jobs. I mean, he took a radical path in terms of designing the precursor of today's iPhones. And those sort of individuals were so passionate about creating products that would really make an impact on society, and we'll tend to remember those. And even Ford, he designed no, not he wasn't the first one, but he was the first to design cars at the scale of today of modern manufacturing capabilities, and we still see Fords driving around.
Yeah.
Yes.
Definitely a lasting legacy. Maybe soon in the future we'll see Fords flying around.
Yes. But we don't want to just market Fords. Let's also remember the Audi, the Mercs, and the BMW, and Toyotas, and all those.
Definitely. What advice would you give to entrepreneurs who want to make a difference that outlives their own careers?
So I listened to an interesting podcast this week which said that don't be so focused on the massive impact that you want to make on the world. Otherwise, you won't be focused. So just focus on the thing that you're solving for your immediate customer, or your first 10 customers that are around you. Just solve it well. And then if you're solving it well, hopefully it will snowball.
Mm-hmm.
But also don't be hard on yourself if it doesn't snowball, because we live in a world with 8 billion other people. So not everything will scale and make an impact. But yeah, just keep doing it again and again. Keep persevering. And sometimes if you can't pull it off by yourself, get others to work with you. And if it still doesn't work, maybe it means that you need to rather join someone else in their vision and rather help them. So there'll always be a space for you to make an impact, whether it's direct or indirect.
That's very true. It's good to know that as entrepreneurs, it's sometimes okay to call it quits on an idea, and we should know the fine. I mean, I think there's a fine line between being tenacious and consistent and continuing to try something and then realizing also maybe this idea is not working, let's move on to the next idea. So finally, before we end this podcast, how do you define success in terms of multi-generational impact, and how do you measure it?
Ultimately, it's about creating something that is bigger than you, something that lives beyond you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not something that you can measure financially, because money is just money. So if your measure is money, after inflation, that money will lose value. So it's not money, it's about what is the positive change that you want to make. And it's not just about scale. I've seen some people that are truly phenomenal leaders in their families and their communities, and they make a lasting impact. It could be raising up one person. So it's not about thousands of people that you're impacting. It's really about the quality of impact that you are leaving behind you.
Mm. That's a wonderful positive note to end this podcast. So thank you so much, Dr. Mandla. We'll chat to you again soon.
Thanks, Amanda, and it's been great chatting to you.